Hello friends, I'm Vivek Atray and we're here for another episode of the Good Vibes Show. And today we have a very eminent guest. He is Professor Emeritus and he's been teaching law, he's been practicing law. Sir, Dr. Balram Gupta, welcome to the show. And if I may say so, sir, in some ways, you are Mr. Law yourself. How does it feel to be here, sir? Good. Thank you. This is the book that Dr. Balram Gupta has authored. It is My Journey with Law and Justice by Professor Dr. Balram K. Gupta. So this book is very well regarded, launched recently, and it has been written, we'll talk about this first, sir. It has been written in a very literary style. So this mixing of literature and law, how did it come to you? Law students would be legally minded, concentrating on law, but that flavor of literature, how did it come to you?
You know, in 1978, I met Lord Denning in UK, yes, and in that particular meeting, which went on for 1 full hour, it was recorded. You know, Lord Denning's writing style, short sentences, even the judgments, other writings apart, the judgments. See, the factual canvas would run like a story.
I see.
And the judgment is most digestible, understandable, readable.
Absolutely.
His other writings, he wrote 6 books at the age of 80 and plus.
I see.
Every summer vacation, he would polish up a book. Now, the way he talks, the way he writes, influenced me. It was difficult to really marshal that style of his. But over a period of time, I did imbibe that.
Yes. But I would also say that you perhaps fine-tuned it to your own personality. And you have probably, although it is mentioned somewhere that you're like the Indian Lord Denning.
That's right.
But I would say that you are probably the original Professor Dr. Balram K. Gupta.
That's true. I mean, originality doesn't go.
Yeah.
The way you think, the way you write, the way you talk. You know, this particular aspect, even the Supreme Court judges has commented. The 2 brothers, my elder brother.
Yes, Justice Gupta.
They write the same way, they speak the same way. And I felt good about it, that this compliment has been given to us.
Yes, absolutely. How has India changed if we go back to a larger perspective in your journey? I mean, you've seen over the decades, perhaps 6 decades of work now. And how has India changed over the decades? First at the macro level.
See, let me put it this way. Independent India belongs to the Constitution.
Right.
We have covered a journey of the Constitution last 75 years. And the way the Constitution has really carried out the different situations which the country faced. 106 amendments in the Constitution.
Right.
But that apart, the role which the constitutional courts, particularly the apex court of the country, has played, that is absolutely something which is
marvelous
for that matter.
And probably we have been strengthened by those interventions, that role of the judiciary as a nation.
Absolutely. The unity of the nation, the diversity of the country on the one hand, and the way the Indian Supreme Court has knitted the jurisprudence has really carried forward the unity of the nation.
Very well said.
Yeah.
When we look at the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, at times do you feel that with a weak executive, the judiciary has to overreach a little bit?
See, what happens is, my own experience which I have seen over the decades as such, Why do we say there is judicial activism? Let me.
You mentioned it in your book as well.
That's right.
That's right.
See, there is no parliamentary activism. There is vacuum. In so many cases, since there is no legislation, there is no executive notification, the Supreme Court has to step in.
Yeah.
Give directions, the guidelines. In so many cases, they have done this. If the parliament would have been active enough, there would have been no need for judicial activism. But let me say, judicial activism has enriched the Indian jurisprudence for that matter. And the credit for that goes to the Supreme Court.
I think of the three bedrocks of democracy, I would, as a layman, tend to agree with you. Having been part of the executive myself, and not really understanding law that much, but whatever my career taught me, not being a student of law, being a student of engineering and English, if I can say so. However, I totally agree with you that the judiciary has probably stood firm, and that has been our nation's victory in a way. And we will not collapse. We will not be allowed to collapse because of the strength of that.
Absolutely true. You know, the way the Constitution was being amended. I mean, the changes in the Constitution through the Parliament were so frequent. And those particular legislations used to be put into the 9th schedule, if I use that particular expression, only to protect that legislation so that it is not challenged as violative of the fundamental rights. That's why the case Keshwananda Bharati,
Yeah,
the basic structure.
very important.
Absolutely. And I would say it is now 51 years
Since the judgment.
since that particular judgment. It is the savior of the Indian Constitution.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, in that particular context.
What I like about your communication...
Just let
Sorry,
me
go ahead.
add another dimension to that. See, in that very judgment, besides the basic structure, constitutional morality to protect the basics and the essentials of the Constitution, which is the heritage, is constitutional morality.
Yes.
That's how they came out with this. And therefore, both these concepts, basic structure and constitutional morality, they have gone hand in
Hand in hand.
and really strengthened the constitutional setup.
It's like two railway tracks and the train is moving smoothly enough,
Absolutely.
barring a few ups and upheavals here and there. But well said. I think already we've gone very deep into an important subject, and your communication style, even while speaking, I notice, is similar to your writing. That laudening and that pithy sentences, if I may say so, impactful sentences.
You know, let me say this, Justice Krishnaya. The toughest possible language that I've come across in the domain of law.
Yes.
The way he speaks, the way he writes, his judgments and everything, the other writings also. You have to open up the dictionary. He coins words.
Right.
And I happened to ask him, why this so difficult language? Even if a simple particular legislation you are interpreting, it would be used in such a language, carried out in such a language, which is impossible to understand that. And his answer was, Dr. Gupta, language is a tool. Once you have learned to use that tool in a particular manner, you can't change it.
You know, you are an author. I'm a columnist and author as well. You develop a certain style. It comes from within.
Absolutely.
I have been told that you should simplify your column writing. I said, I'm writing for joy. I'm writing from the heart. So I think the same probably applies.
Absolutely. You have rightly said this. You know, the way you think the way you speak, same way you write.
That's right. And he thought like that, so he wrote like that.
Absolutely.
So, if we, because it is the Good Vibe show, we just lighten the discussion a little bit. Your love for law, your affair with law, your tryst with law, this journey with law, has Mrs. Gupta been jealous of it? And secondly, how did the journey begin and where has it reached?
You know, I came to law by choice. Absolutely. And with the idea that I would be joining my brother. He was already in the profession.
Justice Gupta, yes.
That's right. And I thought that I would join. When I completed my law in 1966, my brother asked me to join. And I thought that let me also try to do masters in law before I joined that. Another reason why I joined the LLM course, in the Punjab University, the law auditorium, which is close to the law department.
Yes, we've all been there, yes, sir.
It had come up. And I was wanting keenly to speak in that particular. It was something which...
It was an aspiration.
Aspiration as such. As a student, I never had the opportunity because that auditorium just had come up. So I thought that 2 years of masters would be giving me ample opportunity to come and speak in that.
That's right.
And believe it, it was such a joy. You know, the venue and the audience makes all the difference.
Absolutely right.
For the speaker. I mean, your performance goes up.
Even here, let me tell you, very discerning people will be watching this episode and this conversation. And the way you are speaking from the heart, it brings out those good vibrations and also knowledge, also insights.
I mean, that's the way it ought to be.
It ought to be.
You know, let me tell you, positivity of mind makes all the difference in the very personality of the man.
Me being a motivational speaker, these words are so heartening for me to hear.
Absolutely. I always tell my students and others also, whatever you do in life, enjoy it.
Absolutely right. Very right, sir.
And the quality of your work, the productivity, and the kind of satisfaction that it would give you would be unique in its own way.
And so don't forget to sip your coffee if you feel like it. While talking about law, and you did mention how you started this journey, I mean, after your graduation, post-graduation, your PhD, you were the second PhD, I believe,
that's right,
from the university.
Punjab University.
And then you,
long history.
Absolutely, and then you taught for decades, and then you practiced and were made a senior advocate very quickly. So I know I'm fast-forwarding everything, but first talk about your career as a professor, and then we'll come to the second part.
Good. You know, in fact, I am a reluctant teacher of law. My brother was pestering me, if I use that expression, to come and join.
Right.
What came to my mind was, I must do something of my own.
Right.
And excel of my own. I should not be dependent upon anyone for that matter. And therefore, that was the only option which I thought, come to teaching and excel in that. When I came into teaching, initially it was such a good experience. My own professor, Professor Shibdayal, was a model of a teacher. And I thought to myself, could I ever be like him?
Mm-hmm.
I was into teaching for only 2 months. And the compliment that I got, one Dr. Jazz has gone to the Delhi Law Faculty.
Right.
Another Diyal has come.
How nice, how nice.
That gave me the joy. And that was the inspiration to continue into teaching.
Your role model,
Yes.
and you being compared.
Absolutely.
And then all these eminent lawyers and judges who came out from that stable, if I can use that word.
Let me also share another aspect of it. I was invited for a lecture in Cambridge by Professor H.W.R. Pate.
Mm-hmm.
He chaired the lecture himself. He was a giant in the field of administrative law. After the lecture was over, he had a meeting to attend. He left. And we were interacting with the master's students in that particular domain as such. The moment he left, one of the students says, "Sir, we want to thank you doubly."
I see.
I said, "Sir, why doubly?" He says, "The semester is going to be over, and Professor Wade came to the class for the first time." That was
Only because of you.
that was a complaint in effect.
Yeah, it is a complaint.
And a giant, his book, internationally known. The kind of research work that he has done. So he told them, he reaches out to you through his books, through his writings. He is doing so much, and therefore, and the response of the students? "Sir, does a book teach you?
Mm-hmm.
If we have a doubt, can you ask the book to clear that doubt?" It's the teacher who teaches.
Absolutely.
And therefore, we admire that you took out time and we could share our feelings with you on that. Ever since then, I felt that this is such a strong thing.
Absolutely. So many decades of teaching, and even today you continue to teach at judicial academies, and even High Court judges attend your programs. And what is that joy and love that you have for this teaching? How does it feel when you're on the floor, let's so to say?
Let me share another aspect of it. I must have lectured on a given day even up to 6 hours.
I see. That's
and
strenuous.
in my initial years, for that matter, I never take any paper along, no PPTs, no PowerPoint presentations. You speak,
You're
and
living.
your performance is altogether different.
Absolutely right.
The same is now happening. Maybe that memory is not that much now with the
Now, it seems to be very sharp, sir.
But the recent program that I attended at the National Judicial Academy, I spoke, interacted, and later on, the High Court judges say, "Sir, your memory phenomenal, and the way you flow and your thought process, they match together."
Then, sir, this transition from teaching to practicing law and that invitation to become a senior advocate. Tell us that story, because I've heard it from you before, but I want our viewers to listen to it.
Absolutely. See, my brother got elevated in March 1991. He had a roaring practice. There was nobody else at that time ready to take over his work.
I see.
Now, there was a dilemma in my mind. If I step in, लोग कहेंगे ये क्या बात है, भाई जज बन गया, ये वकालत में आ गए. And I'm very sensitive about it. I didn't want to hear anything of the kind. My Vice Chancellor, Professor R.P. Bamba.
Yeah, Professor Bamba.
That's right. He told me, "Balram, I'll give you sabbatical. You go, make your contribution, whatever you wish to, and come back to us." He was very happy with me. He would go to different universities and they would tell that Dr. Gupta had come for a lecture and we enjoyed that. He didn't want me to leave that. Now, in that situation, I told him, either I don't go, but if I go, I would come back. Half-heartedly, I would not like to do anything.
I can understand that.
And I asked myself, Balram, why can't you be open and transparent and do things in absolutely unquestionable manner? And I decided to step in to accept the challenge for that matter. So I came in March 91.
91 March, yes.
I had 14, 15 years of university service left at that point of time.
Right.
Early 1992, I was called by the then Chief Justice. And he said, I was surprised when he told me that we are considering you to be designated as senior advocate, which is the aspiration of every lawyer. That's the biggest recognition. You wear the same gown and robes which a judge wears.
Yes.
Within 30 seconds, I said, my lord, no. He was surprised.
Nobody says no.
I told him, more than me, it would be a reflection on you. People would say, his brother has become a judge and he has been designated as senior advocate. I don't want anyone to say that. He hugged me. He said, this never crossed my mind. And therefore, in that situation,
he had to agree.
I said, I would love to wait. You need to be 10 years standing at the High Court, at the bar, to be eligible for elevation as a judge. And the same measure is used for designation.
As senior advocate.
The day I completed 10 years, I was designated. And that gave me actually the satisfaction.
That you followed the right course, and so did he. You didn't answer my question about Mrs. Gupta. This love for law, this absorption in law. How does she feel about it?
Let me put it this way. She has done her master's in zoology. She had been into teaching for some time as such. And therefore there was no linkage as such. But she was into a family.
Yeah.
We were a joint family for that matter, to begin with. Yes. For a good number of years.
Yes. You have so many family members in law, I would say. In law as in a different way.
And since she got absorbed in that family, mingled and mixed in that family,
yes.
Well, she had no other option but to love law. And those who are in the family, of course.
Some of them are practicing, some of them are judges, and some of them are professors.
Absolutely.
Shruti, your daughter, is a professor.
My son is a lawyer.
Your son is a lawyer, and your family members whom we know, yes. So, this writing part, the authorship part, I think it's very important for someone with so much substance to write. And had you not written this book, I am one of the persons who eggs people on to write, as you probably know, because I've done some books. So I always feel that this legacy is very, very important. So how did you come about writing the book? How did you feel while writing it? How pleased are you with it? How does it feel to be an author?
See, let me share with you. Writing was a passion with me. Let me be very honest. And sometimes you start enjoying your own writings. Yeah. I got in love with my own writings.
You do.
You love to read it again, what you have written. What has come into print, for that matter. COVID time gave me the opportunity
to bring out this book. This COVID time and the lockdown, it slowed down many other things, but this could be, paced up. Yes.
This is the outcome during that particular...
No, it is something which will, if I can say so, it will outlive the author. And it is something like a child or a grandchild. I mean, it's that valuable.
if you do right, it must outlive the author.
Absolutely right. Very
The
true.
posterity.
We are on a time capsule. We would have loved to talk more, but so anecdotes or stories or anything memorable that you'd like to share with us, and any moment of, that you remember, recollect?
Certainly. Let me tell you, when I was doing law, Dr. Adar Singh Anand, he had done his doctorate from England.
Yes,
he
sir.
had just come back. He had joined the bar and came as a visiting faculty. In fact, we have that tradition in Punjab University. Even Chief Justice Jagdish Singh Kher, who was my student, the day he completed his master's course, I personally went to the Vice Chancellor, got the letter for him to be the visiting faculty with us.
Right.
And let me tell you, this is something remarkable. They contribute. On the one hand, they are practicing and they come and teach for a short time, for that matter. Nani Balkiwala, Senior Chandrachud, they have taught.
Wonderful.
And their students are the real glory for that matter.
True, sir.
I also can take pride in my students, of course, in the domain of judiciary. But even Sushma Savraj,
Yes.
Kiran Bedi,
Yes.
they were my students. Now, coming to that particular, I was sharing with you, Dr. Anand was taking a class, and he shared that it happened in the Calcutta High Court. The courtroom was adjoining the boundary wall. A barrister was arguing a case, and it was a serious discussion going on, the interaction with the judge. And suddenly, outside the boundary wall, an ass started braying.
Oh my God.
Gradually, the braying got louder and louder and louder. And it was disturbing the court. So the judge says, one at a time, please. And the lawyer was equally quick-witted. He says, my lord, I thought it was the echo of the court. Another episode I would like to share with you. This happened in an English court in England. A bench of two judges. When the case is being argued, sometimes they talk to each other, whisper to each other, consult each other. Now, what happened was the judge, that was a single judge bench, was in the habit of bringing his pet dog to the court.
Really, sir?
It was tamed very well. Would sit and not disturb the court. Arguments are going on. Suddenly the judge started looking at the dog.
Mm-hmm.
The barrister stopped. And the judge says, why have you stopped? Go on. And he says, I thought my lord was in consultation.
Good one, sir.
Absolutely.
Great. So how does it feel at this stage of life, looking back, and what advice would you give to a youngster, a greenhorn who's starting out?
See, let me be very honest. Good nature is the richest fruit of every human life.
Well said.
And that needs to be realized, one. And as I said earlier, I always say, think positive, act positive, do positive. Two, whatever you do, enjoy.
Enjoy that.
And that sustains you throughout. That is my sustenance as such. Trust me, I have played 4 different innings. Teacher, professional, judicial educator, and a Rotarian of 48 years.
We didn't bring out that aspect, but I was reading about it. You've been an eminent Rotarian as well.
Absolutely. And believe me, each role I've enjoyed.
And the family man as well.
Absolutely.
Wonderful, sir. So much to be inspired from you. And I always sense those good vibrations which this show is about in you. And I've always been planning to invite you, and finally it has culminated in this episode. I can't say anything except thank you. And it's always a joy to meet you. Thank you so much.
Such a pleasure. Always meeting you and be with you.
Thank you.
Joy.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.